Welcome back, guys. We have another super great episode with these three lovely, I don't want to say panelists, but that's not friends. I feel like you said friends. I was like,
I said
I'm like,
friends.
how do we? I mean, we are friends. We joked, I think, at the very beginning when we started planning out Radiant that, like, I think, was it your husband that was like, I don't, women are
Yeah.
always
He
type
doesn't like it.
friend,
He doesn't
friend.
like it when people go, "Hey, friends." So like
This is
that's
just how we
nice.
talk.
So that's okay.
So here are our friends. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the last episode where they just were sharing their perspectives. Again, we know that, man, if we could do it however we, to just get all the perspectives, I think we'd have every single person that wanted to jump on here and share their perspective because we know we are all so unique. And I love, Ange, how you said like that the prayer was to really that the Lord would meet everyone individually based on just what they needed, right? He is such a kind father and knows exactly what we need and goes before us and all of that before we even, you know, um, can think of what we need, right? That the idea that sometimes we're just like in this space of like, I know I need something, but I don't even know how to articulate what I need, right? And his kindness to go before us and to meet us in that way. So I think we're going to circle back one more time unless any of the women have anything specific, but we would just love to know. Jill, we'll start back with you. And again, women, feel free to just jump in and kind of play off. Sometimes, again, like Ange said, the beautiful thing, I don't remember, was it Ange or Jess? One of you guys said, right? The idea of like when we're together, like it sparks ideas and brings remembrance to things that maybe we forgot. But Jill, we just love to circle back to you. What do you feel like was both one, something that the Lord just met you, like Ange said, like in that very tangible way? How did you feel that He met you? And with that, what would you, kind of encourage and challenge other people who might be interested in coming to the event next year?
Um, like I said earlier, it was just really good timing, this event in my life. Uh, Kind of the grandma. Um, I have my parents are both in a nursing home. It was just a lot of transition for me. And it came at a really good time. And so when I was sitting there, a couple of things that kept on going through my mind was peaceful with a lot of joy. So it was a joyful peace, even though I didn't know a lot of the people there and things like that. But it was like I felt a nearness to God that I needed, that I didn't know I needed. Even though I was in a room with a bunch of people, I just kept on just feeling really, really close to God personally. And then a little bit like what Jessica said too is being with people that you total strangers and just feeling that bond. And I can honestly say there was not one awkward moment or one time that I thought, okay, this is weird, or I feel uncomfortable, or I need to leave, or anything like that. I just had moment after moment of God, just little God moments through the whole thing. Either it was with another person, it was just one on one with God. The praise, the praise and worship was so calming, very calming. And I think that's what I needed at that time. I also appreciated sharing food with one another. I think I think that is a good thing to do with people that you don't know because you have something to do. You're eating and fellowshipping at the same time. So there was a lot of neat things about the food, how you presented it, and then how you added some things to the table for us to snack on, and we could talk about that too. And I also enjoyed. You told me if I need to.
No, you're
No, you're
good.
great.
Um, is if this makes any sense, the physicality of the event, because a lot of events that you go to like this, either you're just the receiver, and you're just receiving the information, or I just felt like it was so much more physicality, like the sitting at the tables was different than just sitting in a folding chair facing something. Um, I loved the moving exercises. It got us all up, moving, Brittany.
Yes, Jill.
I was so proud of you. Um, the singing when we stood to sing, and just with all of us, like just doing our little teeny little sways. It was like we were like, oh, I was in one of the back tables, so I could see what was happening, and it was really. I liked the perspective of where I was. Um, and I just remember you guys were so open with like, contact us, if you feel like you need to talk with us more. And so I felt like that was good for you guys, that you didn't have to feel like you had to be meeting up with people that day, that we could say, okay, all three of the speakers said that, to reach out, or, if you have more questions or whatever. But you had said one word for me for this event was renewing. So that's kind of how I just was like, okay, kind of, I needed a boost,
Yeah.
and I got it. So
It's beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so Jessica, what about you? Like what was one thing or some of the main things that you feel like you took away, whether it was from the speakers, or you did mention community, like that was a big thing. But yeah, like I don't see it as okay, you're only going to take away what we have to say to you. But it is kind of the experience as a whole, whether it's community, something that you learned, or even like even the food. Like people still tell us how much
So
they
good.
appreciated the
Maybe-
recipes. And so after the event, I don't know if we said this yet in either any of our previous episodes, but like after the event, so everybody had like that booklet which we talked about, but then afterwards we sent out a more in-depth version of that had more information than like on our talks, and then also recipes and just some other different things in there. And so we still get feedback about the recipes. But anyway, what is something that you felt like you took away and still remember today?
Yes, the food was 10 out of 10. It was so good. It was so delicious. Just a side note, but it just added to the feeling of feeling loved and welcomed and warm and homey. And you guys pulled that off so well with the decorations and the food. But I would say I have two really big takeaways. The first was Amy the name of the last speaker?
Mhm.
Okay, Amy's talk. I just took pages and pages of notes for anyone who didn't go. She was talking a lot about our thought patterns, and it was so cool to hear about that from like not a new agey perspective, from a Christ-centered perspective, and all the speakers had a Christ-centered perspective, which is so important, from nutrition to being physical and moving your body and taking care of your body because our bodies are not just physical, they're spiritual. So to hear, I remember my hand like cramping at the end. Like I just like tried to write down everything she was saying. It was so, so good to just hear from a Christ-centered perspective about how we can retrain our brain and our thoughts, and how we can observe our thoughts and not to ignore our thoughts and our feelings, but also not to give them too much attention, and to keep our minds centered on Christ. So that was probably my biggest takeaway from the speakers. And then the second was the community that I actually brought home. So I'm not local, but lived in Tennessee at the time. But I felt like the impact of being with community and a group of girls at the table was so important for me to bring home, that when I got back to Tennessee, I became part of our church's children's ministry, and that like so much fruit and blessing came from being a part of that. And I felt like that wasn't something I could do because we're all busy, right? But busy mom with two kids and working and all the things. Like I didn't feel like I could, before going to Radiant, like I could give of myself in that way to the local church. But going to Radiant really encouraged me to do that, and to have a community that was founded in the church, and not just friends that I met through work or at the park, or, just like out and about, like, but to truly have like a local church Christ-focused group of community, and that just yielded so much fruit and blessing. I'm so glad I did that, and it was all inspired by Radiant.
That's so neat to hear because that's not even like that is truly an example of like the Lord meeting you where you needed to be met because that was not something that we didn't talk about that, right? Like we didn't that wasn't a specific goal or something that we had to talk about that and push people towards or encourage people to become more involved in their churches. We didn't
Yeah.
go there at all, but that shows me that like you were open to what the Lord had for you that day. And that was maybe one of the places where he met you. And that is what you ended up taking home. And so I love that because that's something totally unplanned or that we didn't even know about.
Yeah. No, I love that. I feel like the Lord so often he feeds us, but then he salts our tongue. Right. And I'm like, that is the best. Like if, you think of feeding the 5,000, like they were fed till they were fully satisfied, but then they went away. Right. And sometimes I think we come to these events with expectation of being fully satisfied. And while I think there is an aspect of the heart of the Father that does enjoy meeting us there, I think the best invitations are the ones where we feel our tongue salted, that we can then turn around and go back into the places which we live. Even if we're local, we're still in different groups, right? We still have different gifts and talents and church communities because it's not like anyone, even Britt and I go to different churches, right? And so there's even that, like in terms of, it's not like there was one church group that was predominantly, there. It was so many of us from so many areas, right? And so when you come and you allow the invitation of God to salt your tongue, you go back. And if you accept that invitation, it becomes like Jess said, like this beautiful, like abundantly more than we could have even asked for because I didn't even know I needed that. And it was there the whole time, right? It just took
Yeah.
a moment for him to like spark that idea.
Mhm.
That's so cool. Do you feel like some of that came out of maybe you traveling by yourself? Like, do you feel like that was a part of that as well? Just the confidence for him to show up in your,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was intentional on my drive. I like, unless I was really tired, I didn't listen to podcasts or music. I was just quiet and prayerful and thoughtful, which is so powerful in and of itself. Like if we get 15 minutes a day sometimes to be quiet, it's just like you have to wake up at 5 a.m. sometimes to have quiet time. So to have 7 hours of quiet time plus being in the hotel room plus 7 hours going home, it was just like so much overflow from the event, especially going home. There was so much to think about and to soak in like what was specific to me, what like God personally wanted to speak to me. Because obviously, yeah, there's so much to learn and so much to talk about. But it was a chance for me to really open my eyes and my ears to what he had to say. And when we are spiritually filled, there is the overflow of like, okay, what can I do to serve, and what can I do to draw nearer to you? Because this feels so good to go to an event where I do feel so near and close to you, and I want to continue that experience when I go back home. And he just gave me so many practical, tangible tools during my travel time to see how I can practically implement that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Thanks.
Okay. And then, Ange, what about you? What was something that you feel like, or a couple things that you feel like you took away? Could be from like a volunteer perspective, or even just I feel like the second half of the day, the first half, you were probably a little bit busier, like preparing the food or getting it all out, and maybe didn't have quite as much downtime. I don't know, just from what I remember. But then the second half, like I remember you and some of the other volunteers just, which I was so glad, I was so thankful to see you guys able to like sit on the couches and just like receive. So, what are a couple of things that you feel like you were able to take away? And then what would you tell somebody who is like thinking about coming or kind of on the verge? I don't know if this is for me or not. What would you say to them?
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I would have is just how literally the Lord just sustained and strengthened and upheld everyone that was there. Whether it was
Mhm.
like you guys speaking and praying for you and kind of seeing behind the scenes stuff of what was going on, or like individuals who came from like their kids were sick at home or their,
Mhm.
whatever situation was going on, like how the Lord just really personally, again, as he does, like just sustained and strengthened and provided for everyone to be there. And there was just like this protection around the place during the event, right? Of just being able to focus, letting all of that kind of like, it's going to be there. It's not, but he had something for everyone there. And so I think his intentionality, like your guys's yes and your obedience to him to like, walk this out is really fun from the beginning just to hear like we were together with a group of friends one time and she was kind of like sharing this idea and we were all like this is amazing and like just excited and to hear and then see it just kind of like continue to fall into place as you guys like saw his face and listened to him and took the next step and said the next yes. And so like that was really neat to have that perspective to watch this whole thing become. And then like it was the day of and we were all like, oh my goodness, here we go. Like the soups are made, the decorations are like then people started coming, and that it was just really exciting from that perspective. Um that's kind of like the bigger view, but I think it felt to me like another takeaway was as I was thinking about it, prepping for this a little bit, one of the pictures that kind of came to mind was like it was like a deep breath on both ends. Like, it was a deep inhale of so much rich, good information, practical tools, like just encouragement, community, all the things, like such a deep inhale. And then I feel like the exhale was a lot of like peacefulness to our nervous systems, to our minds, to our hearts, and just like hopefulness that like we can do this journey, whatever our ailments are, whatever our struggles are, like. So it just felt like a good deep breath, which, as we all know, like in our busyness, that's hard to like find. It's hard to be intentional to do. And so that was a gift in itself. And then I would say, lastly, like takeaways specifically for me, because Britt, like you said, I did get to sit at the end and kind of receive. And that was, and again, it was the intentionality of the Lord, because what I heard was what I needed to hear. Not that I didn't want to soak in everything, but the Lord was kind in that way. And for me, it was the nervous system talk with Amy and just a lot of tools that she shared. Like nervous system work is something I've done a lot of work on over the years. And so, but she shared some key things that were like very helpful and transformative for me, some tools to put in my toolbox that I got to take away. And that was huge. And I've used them and my daughter's used them. And so that's been really helpful. Um, so then what would I tell someone who's thinking about coming to the next Ready event? I would say come. But in like true genuineness, I would say like I think we can look at a thing like this and we can be like intimidated maybe of like, oh, well, I'm not here or I'm just starting this. Like I don't even know what questions I have or I'm way further down the road or whatever. Like we're all on different parts on this journey. Or it can be like, I don't like social things or don't know people or whatever it is. Like, to me, the whole event felt so welcoming and it felt so safe. And I think that maybe someone needs to hear that. It just felt really safe overall. That it's not a place like that you feel critiqued or judged or like, oh, you haven't been doing this, like shame on you. Like, not at all. It's just this welcoming, like, hey, the Lord's going to meet you where you're at. He's going to give you some encouragement, maybe some tools, maybe some community, maybe some like new, neat ideas. And I think that like people will find that it's actually really, really encouraging and helpful and just like boosting in their journey, kind of like that boost to taking the next steps. Um, so I would encourage people to come. I think it's just a really wonderful environment. And I think that you guys, the speakers, do an amazing job, and the Lord just works and moves through everything there. So,
Yeah, I love that you said that about like you don't have to be at a certain place. And because we know people who were there who were very new to whether it was the world of wellness. And we talked a little bit one of our first episodes like what does wellness mean to us? Because it can mean something different to everybody. But new to like that world and I don't even know what it means to like eat clean. I don't even know what it means like
Right.
you don't have to be super far down or on the other side like if you are just new to like okay I maybe am feeling this tug in my heart and I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know who is calling me to this. um and maybe as we've been talking, maybe some of this seems a little bit like I'm not to that point spiritually.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people who were very new to all of those things. And so, and we feel that again, as we've been saying over and over, like the Lord is going to meet you where you're at. Just like I tell my clients, like I'm not going to make my clients who are new to exercising, they're not going to be forced to do a 45-minute workout. Or if they have a lot of pain, like I will meet you where you're at. The Lord will meet you where you're at, no matter where you're at. And so, I love hearing that you say it was a safe space too. There were some things that we did intentionally, but a lot of that are things that completely out of our control. And I think a lot of the women there just were looking for that. And in that, it helped to create a safe space for other women too. So yes, I really want people to hear like you do not have to be far along on your journey or at a certain place. I feel like we are all always beginning again anyway. And so rather than just this linear journey and this pinnacle of something that we're trying to achieve, which we won't ever achieve this side of heaven, it's an ongoing journey or like, again, just beginning again. So all right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. It was such a blessing to have you guys here and just hear your perspectives. And we hope that you learned a little bit more about what Radiant is and what you can expect from somebody other than us, from people that were actually there. So thank you for joining us on this episode. We have, I think, one more where we're just going to kind of wrap everything up. And so we hope that you will join us for that one as well.